Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today for another Lifting the Curtain interview. Today, I'm talking to Will Reynolds and Eric Price, who are a songwriting duo whose song Getting Closer from their new musical Radioactive releases today. The video is also out today. The link for that is down below, and I hope you enjoy this conversation.
I'm Eric Price, and I write the lyrics and the book in our collaboration.
And I'm Will Reynolds. I'm the composer.
We've been writing Radioactive, which is the story of Marie and Pierre Curie and the discovery of radium for a number of years. And during the pandemic, we were able to safely create a music video of one of the songs from the show, Marie's song, Getting Closer. And we wanted to release that into the world so as to reveal that we're getting closer to the delivery of the full musical. And the path of our artistic discovery is very much parallel to the path of Marie's scientific discovery. In the song, she is getting closer to the discovery of radium. And in the song, we are revealing that we're getting closer to the full production of Radioactive.
Superb. And kind of where did the journey start for you guys? Kind of writing process. I know you've been together about 15 years, isn't it?
Yeah. We actually met virtually while we were in high school, and I was at Carnegie Mellon. So I went to Carnegie Mellon for school, but I went to their pre-college program when I was in high school before my senior year. And a friend who I met there grew up with Eric in Oklahoma City, and I'm from outside of Chicago. And so in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, she was always telling me about her friend Eric, who was a director, and he wanted to be writing musicals, and I was sort of starting to write music, and you guys should just really get to know each other. And so she connected us, Victoria, thank you so much. And we, over AIM, the old AIM chat, we would talk about theater, talk about musicals, talk about Stephen Sondheim. He sent me the score to Floyd Collins in a manila envelope, and I remember that was sort of like our moment of like, oh, this guy's cool. He knows Floyd Collins. And so yeah, we started back when we were 17, and then once we both got out of school, we met up in New York City and started meeting weekly, talking about our tastes, shows we wanted to see, shows we wanted to write, and eventually we started working on a show, and then. Gosh, here we are. Yeah.
When you aspire to be a musical theater writer, you also aspire to find a collaborator. And the discovery of where Will and I see eye to eye, and we usually agree on all the big stuff, and we usually agree on all the tiny stuff. And then there's this area in the middle where we have to sort of push and pull on one another in a way that brings out the best of both of us. And to find that person who syncs with your own artistry in such a natural and stimulating way is the journey of every musical theater writer. And you're not really complete until you stop being your individual identity as an artist and you actually become part of a collective identity as an artist. When we write our shows, it's not my voice and Will's voice. It's our collective voice. And that's, I think, what makes it so stimulating for us, because every successive collective artistic moment is a new discovery of a new artist.
Brilliant. And I was just saying at the start, kind of Radioactive, that was Marie and Pierre's Curie's story. So why did you choose that story to go with?
Yeah.
Well, it's about collaboration, which is sort of the whole point. They could not have done it alone. Marie's skill set and Pierre's skill set needed one another in order to realize the discovery of radium. And although we didn't know about physics and we didn't know about chemistry and we didn't know about turn of the century Paris on the outset of our writing process, we did know about collaboration, and we knew about the relentlessness that is necessary in order to reach a vision that is privately held. When we begin writing a show, Will and I are the only ones who can see it. And the goal is for everyone to be able to see it. That's exactly the experience that Marie and Pierre had. They knew that radium was there, but it was invisible to the world until they cultivated it and brought it to light. So we immediately connected with that side of the journey. The rest of it, we just had to become experts in the history of radioactivity, early 19th century or early 20th century science. And that was in and of itself a huge challenge, but a deeply rewarding one.
And, you look for characters that have supersized, strong wants. And, you looking at Marie and Pierre and their desire to validate to the world that there are things, there are powers, there are energies, there are particles beyond what we can see, which rocked the world of traditional science at the time. That science was visual, was material, was what you could touch, and this idea that there were invisible things out there that had force upon us and upon our planet and upon ourselves was completely out of the realm of possibility for everybody else. And so that to us screamed as like one of the highest wants you could put on stage. And of course they're talking about and discovering an invisible element, radium, but there is the invisible element of music. And there's the invisible element of love. And so we just thought all of these invisible things orbiting each other really felt like a natural fit for a musical. And we've just, and also you want to find something that you don't want to, that you'll never tire of living in. And this is a world that I will never tire to return to and write for. And it's really an honor to get to tell her story.
And then obviously, what kind of research did you have to do? Did you have to dive through lots of
all of it?
Yeah, we spent about a year absorbing everything that's been published in English about Marie and Pierre Curie, and also the science that they were aware of on the outset of their career. But at a certain point, we had to really embrace the fact that our show is not a scientific research paper, nor is it a class in chemistry or physics. It's a story about humans in pursuit of something that is seemingly impossible. And that kind of journey only requires your human experience to understand. You don't need an advanced degree in chemistry to understand radioactive. You only need experience on the planet in pursuit of things that everyone tells you are unreachable, but in your heart are achievable. That's ultimately the core of Marie's story. And knowing that story is the most fundamental research that we had to absorb in order to write this musical.
It took them 7 years to produce actual Radium. And that's about the same timeline as it is for a musical to get to Broadway these days. So we understood her journey very, very well.
How do you guys go about then crafting, say you've got the idea, then how do you go about crafting it together, putting like the score, where the songs are going to go?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing is, we really look at, in terms of once we sort of know what, there were so many different versions of a Marie Curie story to tell. She actually had several chapters actually beyond her time with Pierre, because his life was sadly cut short. But once we knew we wanted to focus on the collaboration and really go from her flight from Poland to Paris, and her time with Pierre, the discovery of radium, and then the eventual loss of Pierre. That was the window we knew we wanted to work in. And then it's exactly that, finding those moments that sing. What are those hot spots that we know for sure there's a song there? And so it's sort of treatmenting that and finding those spots. We often come up with lists of titles first, and we sort of dream on the titles of those moments. But we really don't get set out to actually, me sitting at the piano, Eric in front of the computer or on his pad, really actually doing the writing of the songs until we are crystal clear on the moments, because we find that work happens very, very fast once we've done all that other work to prep and get to that point, all the research and of course all that treatmenting and getting crystal clear about the moment. That so once he and I both know exactly what we are writing, we sort of kind of go off in our corners and then present to each other, and then it becomes this amazing wrestling match of back and forth. And it's really hard to tell sort of where his work ends and my work begins. And it's also very, very akin to Marie and Pierre in that same way, where you couldn't tell their handwriting from one another, and they would sort of pick up in their journals after the other. So there was a lot of simpatico there between their journey and ours. That was really buoying for us as we wrote it.
Amazing. And obviously, as you say, Getting Close is the track you've kind of already mentioned, that the video is coming out with Hannah Cordu.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit further about that track.
Well, the story of Radioactive, in addition to the discovery of radium, is also about the discovery of love between Marie and Pierre. And although they both are instantly attracted to each other because of they recognize in each other a fierce intelligence, deep commitment to science and to discovery, they're reluctant to admit that attraction to each other. Finally, Pierre summons the courage and reveals that he's interested in Marie being more than just his lab partner. And although Marie feels that too, she is absolutely committed to not letting anything distract her from her scientific quest. And so she tells Pierre in no uncertain terms, we can't be together. This wounds Pierre so much that he is deeply embarrassed and also feels that perhaps he overstepped a boundary. And he says, I have to leave our shared lab. We can't be lab partners anymore. I don't think I can even be around you anymore. And Marie, because she loves him too, doesn't want him to leave. And so Getting Closer is her reaction to Pierre saying, I have to leave the lab. Not only is she saying, how can you leave now when I'm getting closer to this discovery, but she's also saying, how can you leave now when you and I are getting closer, when there's so much between us? She's not willing to cross the line into a romantic relationship, but she doesn't want to let go of the presence of Pierre because she knows in her heart that she loves him too. Having those contradictions all coexist in a 2-minute song so brilliantly performed by Hannah Corneau creates all of the juiciness that allows musical theater songs to take flight. It's a character who feels multiple contradictory things at the same time, expressed through music and lyrics.
Agree. It's a brilliant song. I have had the pleasure of already hearing it. So
thank you.
And obviously, kind of, you've mentioned it again, that Getting Closer is kind of a metaphor for the show itself. What kind of the future hopes are they going forwards?
Well, we want to see the show reach the broadest audience possible and enlarge our circle of collaborators. We envision a female-led creative team for this show because at the very center of it is a woman who was told because of her gender that she would not be able to achieve what she aspired to. We want to surround ourselves with female artists to help bring this show to light. And our hope is that we can see it in New York and perhaps abroad in England at some point in the future on a major stage. We feel that the release of this music video is one step closer to that goal.
Brilliant. And obviously, kind of how important to you guys, obviously, as writers, are the audiences reach out to new musicals?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our lives have been entirely informed by the discovery of one new musical after another and how those shows combined in our hearts and minds to form our own artistry. To be part of that lineage is a deep honor and a responsibility that we take seriously. We want to bring this show into the world, not just so that people can receive it as audience members, but so that it can be part of the collection of musicals that inspires more musicals down the line. That's how scientific discovery works too. Marie's discoveries form the foundation for the discoveries of future scientists. And we very much have come to believe over the course of writing this show that the journey of the artist and the journey of the scientist are utterly analogous. And we understand that our show will set the stage for new musicals in the future, if we're lucky, and we hope to achieve that.
Brilliant. I have some more fun questions for you, hopefully.
Great.
These are all about kind of just about generally about yourselves, not the show or anything.
Sure.
And the first one is, what was the first piece of theatre that you can both remember seeing?
What was my first show? I will answer this because it's sort of, I didn't actually see it, but I feel like I saw it. So, Eric, I think it was, you know where I'm going. My mom and my aunt went, so I grew up in Chicago, went in downtown to see the national tour of Phantom of the Opera, and they returned with the double disc CD for me and like the theater, the big, the fancy program. And I devoured that thing. And I was not even, I was too young to actually even really understand like what they went to see and like what this was. But there was this artifact from it. And there was this music and there was this book and these images and there's a story. And I saw that show very vividly in my mind via those albums and via that program. And it would be a few more years till I actually saw it in person. But to me, that will always be the first show that I saw because I saw it in the theater of my mind and it absolutely captivated me. And I think the idea of this phantom living beneath this this opera house, making this music, and it was just so high flying and very, 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 very much sort of weirdly in line with kids who love like superheroes and like supervillains. The Phantom was very much to me my what is Benedict Cumberbatch right now? He's that guy,
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, he was
the
my
Phantom
Doctor
does
Strange.
the Phantom does wear a cape.
Correct. Yes. I mean, it was right in line with my friends who love superheroes. I love Phantom of the Opera and Michael Crawford.
For me, I grew up in Oklahoma, and I thought that every state had a musical named after their state. It was only a little later that I realized, it's only mine. And that even made it more unique. But they play the score of Oklahoma at football games and the grocery store as Muzak. And the work of Rodgers and Hammerstein is really embedded into the act of growing up in Oklahoma. And if you're a kid like I was, who was obsessed with storytelling, this made a real impression. When I was perhaps 5 or so, I was taken to the theater and it was a production of Peter Pan. And the act curtain was a map of Neverland. And it was a map of every place that we would visit for the next 2 hours of watching Peter Pan. And then when the curtain rose, I learned that theater was a place where people can fly, where incredible things can occur, and where the most profound moments of emotion, whether joy or sadness, emerge through music and lyrics. And something happened in my heart and mind at that moment that just locked me in. And it initiated an obsession that has never let go in exploring how those emotional moments can be perfected and expanded, and how I can bring my own life experience and artistry to it. And loving the act of making musicals is one of the great pleasures of being alive. And I'm so lucky that my kind of early childhood experience set up the chessboard so perfectly to initiate me on a lifelong journey to figure out how musicals tick and how to make them myself.
Amazing responses. And do you have, it could be the ones you've just discussed, but do you have a personal favorite piece of theatre that you've seen in your lifetimes?
Oh gosh, hard. It's always so hard. Eric, I feel like you're about to maybe dive in.
I mean, I think that there's no personal favorite, except for the fact that I will never get tired of the storytelling of Fiddler on the Roof. It means so much to me because of the level of humanity and the generosity of spirit in its characters, the craftsmanship and invention in its score, and the themes that are at its heart. For many years, I had the lucky break of working for Hal Prince as his assistant in New York and helping to bring his visions to life. And all along the walls of our office were posters of every show Hal did over the course of his brilliant and prolific lifetime. So not only Fiddler on the Roof and West Side Story, but also Sweeney Todd and Evita, the work of Bach and Harnick, the work of Candor and Ebb, the work of Stephen Sondheim, the work of Jason Robert Brown. And I was surrounded every day by the history of the musical theater. And then I spent every day with the person who made that history happen. So the other answer to what is my favorite show is all of the work that he was able to touch over his lifetime so informed my artistic sensibility, both before I knew and worked with him, and then in the years during and since, he helped shaped my artistic instincts before he even knew he was doing that. And then, of course, the act of talking about the theater with him every day for many years shaped my artistic sensibilities even more. So if I had to say a favorite show, it's every show that passed across his desk over the 65 years that he was working in the American theater.
Yes to that. Amazing. I'll give you a very boilerplate answer of, I would have to say, obviously the work of Stephen Sondheim and Sunday in the Park with George certainly, comes to mind as just, a show that just crystallizes what it is to be an artist, and the choices and decisions and the tears between work and life are just so brilliantly executed in that piece. It's something I return to again and again and again. And I also have to say, Into the Woods, I feel like there's just so much humanity in that show, and what they did to take such things that were so simple, children's stories, children's fairy tales, and then add this layer of complexity. And to me, when John Doyle, who I got the honor to work with in the revival of Sondheim's Passion back in 2013, he always, I don't think he was the first, but he may be the loudest person to say that Stephen Sondheim is our generation's William Shakespeare for the musical theater. And I feel like Into the Woods really kind of exquisitely points that out. It feels like a Shakespearean green world. There's the way that he's able to turn a phrase that is both exactly apt for the moment in the show, but also apt for like your life and journey as a human on the planet is really sort of mind bending. And that's one of those shows that always makes me cry. There are moments in that show that I will always, lose it. And it also always inspires me. And also one of those shows that I think actually is one of the first shows I saw, because there was that in the US, the PBS broadcast of it. And again, it was a thing where I was like, I don't know what this is. This isn't a TV show. This isn't a movie. This isn't animated, and this isn't for kids, but this is amazing. And I would watch that whenever it would come on. This is before you could, decide what you were going to watch. It was just either on or not. And I would catch the tail end of it, or I'd see the beginning of it, and I'd finally see the whole thing. And that definitely was one of those shows that captured my imagination, continues to capture my imagination. That original cast, they're gods to me for sure.
Brilliant. And if you weren't both songwriters that you are, what do you think you'd be doing with your lives?
Well, in addition to being a musical theater writer, I'm also a professor of musical theater, and the act of teaching to me is central to the act of making art. They come to me from the same muscle group, and I adore being able to share my experience and passion with the next generation of artists. And I can't imagine a life not being an artist. It's so intrinsic to what I do and who I am. But if I have to, the world of being a teacher and being able to unlock the potential of others, to point the way and to allow the progression of our art form to move through time, feels to me like a destiny I'd be very happy with and am happy with.
Yeah, and very much same brain here. I think Eric and I were both blessed to have teachers that really were the sort of torches along the path to kind of set us down this journey. And I'm so grateful to those early educators that I was blessed to interact with, that really encourage this fire inside of me and this curiosity and this desire, and to not make it seem crazy or, like other than or less than, or you should really be doing this. You should, I never had those teachers. All of my teachers were always so supportive of this path. And also just so brilliant at helping illuminate it for me. And so having been as an educator myself, I just know what it is to be on both the receiving end of that and the giving end of that. And it's absolutely same. I also have the beginning of my career I spent as a performer. So certainly that would be the other flame of my candle for sure.
Amazing. This is more of a deep question, but
Oh, great.
What does theatre mean to you?
I mean, for me, theater is a place where we gather in a dark room to watch humans perform the impossible. And that to me is endlessly captivating and worthy of time and attention and funds from governments. And yeah, I think it is where we celebrate and define our humanity, and where we go to remember who we are and to envision who we might be. And, it's when we think back to the beginning, earliest of civilizations, and we think about, the Romans, and one of the things you learn is they had the forum and they invented the theater. And to them, this was important. They made spaces, and we have playwrights from their time that we remember for, now thousands of years. And so just to know that of the things to remember, theater is one of those. Like, I think that really matters. And so to me, that's it.
Yeah, for me, theater is a place where miracles occur, not just miracles that you can witness as an audience member and feel like you've seen something unique and powerful and unprecedented, but also it's a miracle to make theater happen, because one person can't do it. It requires the group. And to be able to push that rock up the hill together, everyone throwing their shoulder into it, pushing in the same direction, each in our own way, that is a miracle in and of itself. I also love its fragility. It's not a film which can last forever, or a book which will endure through the centuries. It disappears the moment it's born. It vanishes like cigar smoke in the air. You see it unquestionably, but then you don't, and it's gone. And that makes it all the more rare, and to me, all the more beautiful.
Amazing. I have my final question for you today. It's going to throw it back to almost the hard sell for you guys, if you want. But
Sure.
Why should anybody check out Getting Closer, Radioactive, or any of your previous work?
Well, for the track itself, I have to scream for our amazing collaborators. The incredible Hannah Corneau does a ferocious performance on this, and there's a music video as well that we'll releasing at the same time. And her artistry is just world class. If you don't know Hannah, she was Elphaba on Broadway. She played Yitzhak in the national tour of Hedwig. She is herself her own artist and is a singer songwriter. She and I met. We were both the standbys for Daddy Longlegs for the entire run of that off Broadway, and she and I just became fast friends. So for Hannah Corneau and of course Charlie Rosen, our incredible now Grammy winner, Tony winner, and Tony nominee Charlie Rosen, who did the orchestration for our track, just blew it out of the water. And it is a 2-minute bullet train of a song, and we think you'll love it.
Yeah, this is a good example of our artistry at this moment. And we believe that it has a place in the conversation of what the next generation of musicals have to offer. So we're so proud to share it. And the performance that Hannah gives, you have to see it to believe it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, both of you.
Thank you, Mark.
Links for everything will be down below, so everyone that's watching can listen to the song, download the song, and links to your website and everything also there. So thank you very much, guys. Good luck with the show. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant. Like you say, hopefully it comes over to England at some point.
Absolutely.
We hope so too. Thank you so much, Mark.